Hey guys, Prangell Gaming here, and welcome back to Talk the Wall. This is the 43rd instalment. Before we get right into your responses or any questions you may have had, if you haven't seen any of the other 42 instalments, then why not go check them out? There's going to be a link in the description of this video for the last Talk the Wall, or alternatively, if you have missed an episode, then do feel free to click the I button and catch up with anything you may have missed. But as always, if you have any questions or opinions, do feel free to put them in the comments section of this video, because I want a Millwall voice throughout, or even if you are an opposing fan and you just happen to come across this podcast, then let me know what you think about Millwall and maybe even the game that you're playing this week. Now, while you're down in the comments section, why not leave your predictions for how you felt the game will go against Bristol Rovers for the final game, potentially, of Millwall's season next Sunday. I'll also be covering those predictions, and as of this podcast, as I do record it on a Sunday, do bear in mind that if any new news stories do appear, which they will do, and if any of the stories that I've covered do become outdated, then I will cover them next week in the next Talk the Wall, which may well be the last one. Millwall played 2 matches over the last week, and into your predictions for those games. Obviously, we had the first one against Fleetwood where we lost 1-0, and then we lost 3-0 to Oxford United. So let's start with the scorelines against Fleetwood, and well, none of you got the score line right for that one. However, Dylan Gaming, Liam Gaming 2 and RF Games were all right, saying that Fleetwood would win. RF Games said that it would end 2-0, so he was the closest in terms of the prediction for the match, whereas Dylan and Liam both said the game would end 2-1 to Cod Army. Liam also added, I reckon that Steve Morrison will score for us and Cole and Ball will score for them, and he said, I hope I'm wrong. Meh. The next closest from that point was the Veggie Tube, who expected a 1-1 draw, and finally Riley Solo and Jadams said that Millwall would win 2-1, obviously being wrong this time round. No one actually got the scoreline right for Millwall's match against Oxford United, but I do imagine that's the fact no one actually expected us to lose 3-0 to them. However, the closest predictors were Liam Gaming 2 and Light Biscuit 253. They were both miles off, but obviously by them saying Millwall would win 2-1 against Oxford. But Liam did add saying that he reckoned Aidan O'Brien and Steve Morrison would score for us, and Liam Sercombe would score for them. However, they were all wrong in terms of the players that would score, and just a little bit of information for you there. Sercombe was suspended. The next closest was Joe Holloway, who said that Millwall would win 3-1, and finally Harry Greenway was ever the optimistic man, saying that Millwall would win 5-0. Never mind, Harry, we could have all wished that result, and it would have been a great way to end our home games at the Den. Last week, Liam Gaming 2 left us a question, and that was, who do you think will be the top goal scorer at the end of the season? And Liam was the only one that responded to this question, saying he reckoned Aidan O'Brien would be the top goal scorer for Millwall. Liam also wanted me to ask you guys this week, who do you reckon will be staying and who do you reckon will be leaving in the summer? Moving into your comments, and we will start with C Roof. And well, before we get into this, I've got a little bit of an apology to make here, as C Roof commented when I was recording the last Talk the Wall, so I didn't have time to actually add them into the comments. So I'll say them this week. And C Roof said, we're on our way, we're on our way, we're on our way to the championship. And also asked this question, which I actually thought was a very interesting one and something that I would have actually liked to have brought up in a podcast. And this was, do you think that the kit will return to navy or stay with the stripes? So as I said, I can thank you for that question. That's actually a really interesting one, because I'd like to know your guys' opinions on this one. And myself personally, I reckon we will be returning to the navy, with just it being a full blue shirt. But it's due to the fact that I think there was so much uproar from the fans, really. I personally have nothing wrong with this season's shirt. It actually has grown on me. And personally, I would like to actually say that I would prefer it to be the stripes. I was having a conversation with my family members, and they were saying that they actually would like it to stay blue. And well, my idea really here is I would prefer it if it goes a little bit lighter, because we've been going dark blue for quite a long time. It's getting darker and darker and darker. I just have this weird idea that eventually it's going to turn black, but never mind, it doesn't matter so much. But can I just add something with this as well? I've had a couple of problems with previous shirts in terms of how it's all fallen apart and everything, but this shirt hasn't fallen apart for me once. It's been perfect for me, so I've actually really liked this shirt. The next person to comment was LightBiscuit253, who said, I'm on the picture of the Family Club of the Year. And actually, he is. If you look at the banner, I believe that it's him with no achievement. And if so, that is great news, mate. If you haven't seen it already, I'm sure you can find it on Twitter or Instagram, any sort of place where Millwall would have put it out. It's easy to see. Joe Holloway then asked, can we have a season 2 of the Talk the Wall next season? And all I've got to say to this is, don't worry, my podcast is one of the things that I'll definitely want to use next season. I have loved making this podcast. I want to get it more with you guys involved, to be honest, though. Maybe some of you can send some audio pieces in, something like that, just for progression. And I actually would like to know what you guys would like to add to this. However, this has set up a great bit of information for me to tell you guys. On Thursday, I will be uploading an update video. Now, what I mean by that is it's going to be some sort of announcement on what's happening with my channel, because there will be a couple of things happening. Some content will be removed, some won't be removed, and also I need to announce something that does affect my channel for the running for at least now. So I suggest you guys check that video out. Riley Solo was the next person to comment saying, what a hit, Wallace. And yes, it was. It's a shame I wasn't vlogging, because you know what? That goal was insane. All the goals we scored against Northampton, though, were brilliant, if I'm going to be honest. And, well, yeah, we may have a goal of the season contender with that strike. Ronnie's next question was about a certain League 2 side that wear orange. He said, what do you think of Blackpool? And with this, I've got to say, I love the colour of this shirt. If you've been subscribed to me long enough, you'll know I love the colour orange, and their shirt's actually really nice. Anyway, back to a more serious answer, which I think you probably would have reckoned out of me. And with Blackpool, I hope they win the playoffs and return to League 1, like Portsmouth, because they've had financial problems, and I really feel bad for the clubs that have financial problems in football, as sometimes it's the mismanagement of the club, and at Blackpool there is mismanagement, and there's a couple of clubs that you have the owner that doesn't want to sell the club, and they won't sell them, and they're running them into the ground, and Blackpool's just been one of those clubs. Now, what I will say is, what I've seen them play last season, I did like their player Brad Potts. He looked pretty decent, so that is something to note. Riley's final question was about the fan that had that sort of attack where he collapsed and everything, and I don't really want to talk about this one that much, because I don't feel right talking about it. I don't know whether it's my place to say anything, but last time I knew, he was in hospital. He was sort of stable. They was trying to get him off and breathing on his own, so I think he's okay at the moment. I don't have too much updates. As I said, it's not the sort of thing I really want to talk about too much. That's as far as I know. However, people were going around collecting money for him against, obviously, Oxford United, and some Northampton fans actually went around on their coach and collected money as well. I think that was a nice touch as well. So everyone that can, just give as much money as you can to him, and hopefully, because he is a full-time carer for his dad with his mum passing, so I think he needs as much money as possible to create this stable life that he can have, as long as no long-term damage has been done to him. I hope him the best. He is obviously one of us. Liam Gaming 2 was the final person to ask his questions, and before he did, he said these chants. Oh, Stevie Morrison, meh. His next chant was, no one likes us, no one likes us, no one likes us, we don't care, we are Millwall, Super Millwall, we are Millwall from the dead, meh. This was followed up by, he's one of our own, he's one of our own, Ben Thompson, he's one of our own, meh. Lee Gregory, Lee Gregory, Lee Gregory, Lee Gregory. That was then followed up by, oh, Aidan O'Brien, oh, Aidan O'Brien. And finally, the last chant he said was, super, super nil, super, super nil, super, super nil, super nil, Harris, meh. Liam's first question was, are we going to make the playoffs? That's not a good question to ask, Liam. I really don't know, I'm going to be honest. I don't actually have a clue. Surely we shouldn't do, because of how poor we played against Oxford, and obviously losing the last 2 games in a row. But there is a chance. There obviously is a chance. Everything is down to us. We shouldn't be in the playoffs, though. I don't know. I don't think we should be in the playoffs, but we've been very, very lucky with Southend and now Rochdale both slipping up. So as long as we beat Bristol Rovers, we will make the playoffs, and my word, who would have expected it to go the way it's going? We should have really cruised into it, and we haven't had the best of seasons. I don't even think we're strong enough to win the playoffs, but you know what? We'll see when we get in there. Anything's possible, and the way we're going, maybe we may have a great time in the playoffs. His next question was, who do you think will get the goal of the season? And this question is actually quite hard, to be honest. There are two goals that spring to mind when you say goal of the season. One of them being Sean Williams' goal against Nottingham Forest in the EFL Cup, where, if you can remember, he scored from basically the halfway line and lobbed the keeper, and that was an amazing goal. I think some people have forgotten about that goal, to be fair. And, well, obviously this comes after Jed Wallace scored that outstanding goal against Northampton. But in terms of whether I would say what one's going to get goal of the season, I think I would prefer if Williams' goal got it. But what I'm going to do is, there's a poll on the I button that will be above the playlist for this Talk the Wall. And what I want you to go and do is vote on that poll right now. The question that followed that was, do you think we need to sign a new goalkeeper? And I think I've answered this a couple of times. So my answer for this would be, if we go up, no, Archer will probably stay. And if we stay in League One, I can actually see Archer leaving. But at the moment, Archer's not really been performing. So I don't really have a clue what's going to happen with Archer. Whether he stays or not, he's still part of Millwall. And until he goes, he is a Millwall player. I have to laugh at this next question. Liam's question that he's put next was, do you think Aidan O'Brien is future captain material? There is no way Aidan O'Brien is going to be a captain of Millwall Football Club. If he is, I don't know. I really can't. If he's captain, that's a dream for anyone to kind of get to. Anyone can be captain if Aidan's captain. I don't know whether he can even manage himself on the pitch, let alone other players. And that's not an insult. He seems to be a nice fella and he knows what he's doing with the ball on most occasions. But future captain material, I don't think Aidan O'Brien will actually be a captain for us. However, everything could be possible at one point. Nothing's ever impossible. You never know, but I probably doubt it, to be honest. Liam's next question was, do you think Neil Harris will stay? And my answer to this that I will be giving is yes. It is unlikely that Harris will get sacked. He's a great young manager and he has built this club from the bottom, really. It's a project that he started, and I reckon give him at least another 5 years, as his love for Millwall really means that he's going to have to be sacked rather than resign, because the club means so much. He shares the fans' emotions every week. Now, I do think that he needs some advisors. Whether he's going to go as far as say he needs that or not, I don't know. Whether he'd be too proud to say so, but I think he needs some experienced heads around him. I know Kenny Jackett isn't exactly doing anything. Maybe we could ask him. The next question was, do you think that Jordan Archer will leave? And I have to be honest, this links with the question that I literally answered a couple of minutes ago. I reckon that he's probably one of the better goalkeepers in the league. He's not the final product, so I think he's good enough to play for a middle of the table championship side. However, I don't think he will leave, but obviously if he does, it'll be if we don't get promoted, because he reckons he's bigger than us. Who do you think will go down was Liam's next question, and you haven't put a league here, so what I'm going to say is my teams that I expect to go down from the Premier League to League 2. So starting with the Prem, I reckon Swansea, Middlesbrough and Sunderland will all go down. Sunderland have basically already been relegated, and they'd been a specialist of avoiding relegation for so long. Finally their luck has run out. Middlesbrough are poor and just got absolutely torn apart by Bournemouth. They really did a number on them. And while as for Swansea, they've made a poor manager decision, I think, in assigning Paul Clement to their team. He was brought in too late, even if he could have kept him up. I think had he been brought in before Bob Bradley, then I reckon he probably could have kept him up. But I reckon that now that Hull are above Swansea, Hull are going to stay in the league. Marco Silva has been a sensational signing by Hull, better than any player they could have signed. As for the Championship, I reckon that Wigan and Nottingham Forest will be joining Rotherham on getting relegated to League One. Wigan have been poor and their management has really been weak, and I'd say that leaving Graham Burrow in charge basically conceded the fact that they could have gone down. And both with Caldwell and Joyce being sacked, I would have expected the club to have been able to attract a better manager. It hasn't worked out for them, and they're going to be playing football in League One, really, if they don't buck their ideas up. I think they have to win every game now. And as for Forest, I think that they'll go down because the club is poorly run, in my opinion. I have nothing against Mark Warburton. Actually, I really like him. He's a good manager, and I actually think that the club have been doomed for a long time. Before he was there, I think they've been struggling And, well, they could stay up, and it's looking likely that they may well stay up, but I think there's a left field shout that they could still go down, obviously after getting that 1-0 win. Moving down to League One, and I reckon that Gillingham will be joining Coventry and Swindon to be already getting relegated, along with Chesterfield. I believe Chesterfield haven't just yet been confirmed relegated, but I know Coventry and Swindon have. I think Gillingham, they've just been very, very poor. They made a bold decision of sacking Justin Edinburgh, as they was only 7th, if I can remember, when he got sacked, and it was because they wanted to be in the playoffs. So it just goes to show, be careful what you wish for. They changed the club completely, going with a head coach with Adi Pennock not being good enough, in my opinion, to even join Gillingham in the first place, and I think they will be scraping the barrel if they do manage to stay in the league, and I think they really shouldn't have gone the way they should have done it, and Gillingham, they shouldn't have been this bad. They shouldn't have gone this far down. They are better than that, surely. Swindon, as I said, are already relegated, and Chesterfield, well, they're like Swindon. They're a trouble club and haven't really offered enough in this league on a consistent basis, which is a shame because they do have some decent players in that team, some players that I actually like the look of, that could do a decent number in this league. Hopefully some of them are looked at and brought back up into League One. In League 2, I think that obviously joining Leyton Orient will be Hartlepool. They both are in the relegation zone at the moment. Orient's owner has run them into the ground, to be honest. I feel so sorry for any Leyton Orient fans that would ever watch this, or Leyton Orient fans in general. It's such a sad story to know the fact that they're a shadow of a side that almost won promotion to League One a couple of years ago. As for Hartlepool, I can see them going down because Newport they've been a much better side. They've been picking up a lot more points, and obviously Newport won. They're above Hartlepool now, and Newport have been the much better side with form. So I think that Newport just have more to offer. I know that Jeff Stelling, who is a Hartlepool fan, is fuming, and he's had a rant about that one. So it'd be interesting to see what happens in this lower half of the table. But I am expecting Hartlepool to join Leyton Orient going into non-league football. Liam's final question was, who should be Millwall's free kick taker? And to be honest, I think it should stay between Shane Ferguson and Sean Williams, as I like those two taking the free kicks. And to be honest, if I can, Millwall don't really have players that can deliver a better ball than those two. It just hasn't. We haven't got anyone in there that actually wants to do it. Last week I asked a second question, which was, who is better, Bolton or Scunthorpe United? And Liam Gaming 2 was the only person to respond, saying Bolton are the better side as they have more experienced players. And I'm not going to include a second question, so we're just going to move into the Loan Watch. And what I'm first going to be reporting is that Greg Wild will not feature in the Loan Watch anymore, in my opinion, as he's now injured, and I think he has been for some time. He posted an Instagram image with him saying, "Op went well, road to recovery, onwards and upwards, looking forward to next season." So it looks like he has had to have an operation, and if it's anything to go by, it may well have been on his groin, but I can't tell you, it hasn't been specified. On to the players that could feature, and well, we're going to start with David Ford's Portsmouth side, who won 2-1 against Cambridge United, with Fordy being Fordy quite clearly, getting booked late in that match. While we're still in League 2, Newport County took a huge step into staying in the league as they beat Accrington Stanley 1-0 low. Sid Nelson sat on the bench for the entire game, but it does look likely that they could stay in the league. As for Chris Twaddock and Kyron Farrell, well, Chris actually featured for Braintree being subbed off in the 55th minute, and there's no coincidence that the fact when he got subbed off, after that they conceded 2 goals against Barrow. Staying in non-league football, and I hear that Alfie Pavey had a great week scoring in Dartford's 4-0 win after coming on the bench against Bishop Stortford. He scored a header in that one. And finally, Harry Donovan made his Greenwich Borough FC return as he was subbed on in the second half, or at half time, and they won 4-0 over Guernsey. They'd already been confirmed in the playoffs, so now I wish them the best of luck trying to get promotion. Moving into Millwall's matches, and earlier this week we lost 1-0 to Fleetwood, and this game, what happened, we had plenty of shots, we had plenty of good chances in it, to be honest. I thought we were the better side, but Alex Cairns, their goalkeeper, was man of the match, and he was in inspired form. And obviously Ben Davies was the only player to score in that match, scoring a header just before half-time. But I do think Millwall were the better side, and it just didn't go in their favour on that day. Mill also played against Oxford United and lost 3-0. And, well, I was at a university doing a tester day in Elephant and Castle, so that ended about 2:30. So I had to get a bus straight near to Bermondsey to actually go and watch the game. I had to run and I sprinted and I just got there before they kicked off, before they actually just kicked the ball. So I was very lucky to get there on the match on time. Well, that's what it felt like. Then we lost 3-0, which I'm not going to say was bad. Well, obviously it was, but I don't think it's as bad as what it should made to be. We just looked tired, and I think there was a little bit few decisions that were poorly made by Harris. One of them being Archer was put back in, as in the 9th minute we were 2-0 down from an inspiring performance by Connor McElney, who scored 2 goals from both being outside the area. And, well, Archer probably should have saved them, and even the one in the 71st minute where Ruffles headed them 3-0 up. I would say Archer didn't look fit, he shouldn't have played, and the same was with Tony Craig. He got yellow carded and also didn't look that fit either. Someone should be doing better checks. The medical team need to make sure they're fit before they're playing. Every time Archer comes back, he does look injured. And with Millwall only having 1 shot on target, I really think we look clueless in that game, and it's an awful shame because that was the final game at home. Obviously, apart from the playoffs, if we make it, which there's still a chance we can't if we play like we did against Oxford. On to something more positive now, and that's the player of the week. I have to give it to Jed Wallace, really. He was great against Fleetwood, creating a lot of chances for the players to score, and maybe on another day we probably would have put him away. And not only that, I have to talk about the Oxford United game, as I cannot fault him whatsoever. He was one of the only players that looked to me like he was actually trying. In a day where we looked like a side that had already been relegated, we really just didn't look like we had anything to offer in that match, which is a real shame. But Jed was outstanding. I heard a few people were getting really angry with him. There's no way you should be getting angry with him. Obviously he hasn't performed getting what some people thought out of it, but he's got more goals than he did last season. That's a step in the right direction in my opinion. What about the ups and downs? And for this week, we're going to be starting with League 2. So how did top of the table Doncaster Rovers get on when they played Wycombe Wanderers? Well, they lost 2-1. And their title chance is still under some sort of doubt. With 2 games left, Portsmouth and Plymouth can still take the title off them thanks to that slip-up. Second is Plymouth Argyle, who drew 0-0 with Colchester United, missing the chance to go level on points with Doncaster Rovers. Though this draw does mean they still have time to get their hands on that all-important title following that Rovers slip-up. Third and finally are Portsmouth, who were the only side to have won at the weekend after they beat Cambridge United 2-1 after Carl Baker and Kai Naismith bagged the goals for them, but they did have to hold on very late as Luke Berry did score one back for Cambridge United. Onto the Championship, and already relegated Rotherham United actually got 3 points. I am not joking. They won 1-0 over Ipswich Town. And, well, this match that they won was only won thanks to Tom Adeyemi scoring the goal. Rotherham do already sit bottom of the table and are relegated, so this is kind of just a little bit of a boost for a team that haven't had the best of seasons. They do have 21 points now, which is actually not so bad considering how bad they have been this season. 23rd are Wigan Athletic, who are almost relegated to League One. Their hope is that the fact they may still just stay in the league, but Blackburn and Birmingham have to lose all their games, otherwise the side will be facing an immediate return to League One. The side drew 0-0 with Cardiff City on a day where they needed much more, and with 41 points their story looks almost over this season. Finally, Blackburn Rovers played Wolverhampton Wanderers and drew 0-0 to keep the chances of staying in the league alive, although they are completely dependent on how Birmingham do for the rest of the season, and at half-time Villa and Birmingham were drawing 0-0, so that really isn't the best of results for Blackburn. However, Blackburn do need to really beat both Villa and Brentford to have their best chance of staying in the league. Is that going to happen? I just don't know. Now into the final section of the podcast, and that is the Millwall news, of course, and we have 4 stories ranging from newly promoted Lincoln City saying they haven't been contacted over Sean Raggett, to Neil Harris talking about Millwall's luck. And with that we start with Lincoln City Managing Director Kevin Cook saying that no one, including Millwall, has been contacted over the availability with Sean Raggett. No one has contacted that club, and it looks like at the moment nothing's being made of that news story. The second story is that Millwall Supporters Club's Player of the Year is Steve Morrison. He was voted 40% ahead of Byron Webster, who was on 25%, and Ben Thompson on 22%. News for the third story is that Millwall are really contemplating whether to cancel Greg Wild's loan early so the midfielder can have an operation on his groin. Though Wild has had an operation by the look of it, if you look at him and follow him on Instagram. This week's final story comes from Millwall manager Neil Harris, who said Millwall are hugely disappointing when they played up against Oxford, but are in an incredible position with the fate being in their own hands. So that is all we got time for today. Do feel free to put your questions and opinions in the comment section for the next Talk the Wall. However, before I go, don't forget to put your score predictions for the game against Bristol Rovers in the comment section, as next week I'll be covering that game and highlighting the good and bad points. And why don't you let me know your opinions of the match and Millwall as a whole. So, like, comment, subscribe, and of course I will see you guys next week for the next Talk the Wall. But until then, goodbye.